We just complete Natas 25. Now let's do Natas 26. Okay, looks like we can draw XY coordinates. Okay, so I think it's just going to draw a line. Okay, so before we do this, let's browse everything else. Does it have anything else? Nothing. Does it have cookies? Okay, looks like it has one cookie, PHP session ID, as you can see here. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's give it some coordinates. Okay, 0, 0, 100, 100. Okay, let's draw this thing. When we click on draw, we have another cookie here. Okay, you saw it, right? So we have a drawing cookie additionally, and apart from this, we also have an image with our line. Okay, so let's try to draw one more line. Let's see how it is. Okay, so it just continued the previous line because we have kept the previous coordinates here and the next coordinates here. Okay, so that's why it just joined the two lines. Okay, so if you don't believe me, you can try something else like 200, 200. Let's see how it is. Let's try to draw some other line. Okay, so let's try to draw 0 x coordinate, 100 y coordinate, and 100 x coordinate, and let's type 200 y coordinate. Let's see how it is. Interesting. Okay, so we can draw lines in this area measuring from this as 0 comma 0 and then positive x and positive y this way. Okay, so this is how we were able to draw lines. Looks like we have few parameters here. Those are the parameters that we have given. Okay, we can test it later if you want. Okay, so as of now, let's see the newly created drawing cookie. Okay, so this is a huge cookie. Okay, and there is a percentage 3D at the end. So this percentage 3D refers to URL encoded version of equals to sign. Okay, equals to. So if you see any equals to sign, and it's probably base 64. Okay, so let's copy this. Let's go to CyberChef. Looks like CyberChef has its own website right now. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll just paste the cookie here. Okay, and then first URL decode, because it has to be URL decoded, right? So equals to sign. Okay, so chaining with this, let's try to use base 64. Okay, from base 64 it has to convert it. Okay, so now you can see that these are the coordinates that are used to draw the lines here. Okay, these lines, right? So this is a serialized object. Okay, so it has been serialized 4 times. Okay, so this is one object and this is one object. So something like this, like we have given x and y coordinates 4 times. Okay, this is a PHP serialized object because we are using PHP here. Okay, so this is a PHP serialized object and the server will deserialize it. Okay, so if we make any changes here and if the server accepts 6, it will deserialize it. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's flip this. Okay, replace input with output, and you need to specifically change only few values. Okay, so I just want to keep only one value. Okay, so I just want to discard everything else. So how does it look like? Yeah. So let's try the reverse process right now. Now we have to use two base 64. Okay. So and URL encode. Okay. It's not encoding right now. Encode special characters. Okay. So now it is done. Let's copy this and let's open the cookies. Memory application cookies. So let's try to change this and let's see what happens. Okay. So I'll just refresh this. As you can see, we have only one line right now. Okay. So we have removed 3 lines and we have kept only one line. So the cookie is being deserialized on the server side, right? Because this is a serialized object and we are saying only there is one object. Okay. And that object has these values. Okay. And this object has 4 values, which means x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay. These are the 4 values. So based on this becomes a serialized object. Okay. This is a complicated object. You cannot send this serialized object to the server directly because it has so many special characters. If there is any firewall, it can simply drop this serialized object. Okay. So for that reason, you need to encode it using base 64. Okay. And if there are any special characters, you have to encode it using URL encode. Okay. So this is how you transfer data using base 64. Okay. Do you know how serialization works and where serialization actually being implemented? Okay. So let's type deserialization. Okay. Let's see port figure insecure deserialization. So there is an image. Initially there is a complicated object, something like this image. Okay. So this image needs some values and some has some properties. Okay. So these properties are complicated to understand. Okay. But together it becomes an object. Okay. So it becomes an object like this. When we want to understand this complicated object, we actually serialize it. Okay. Serialization means dividing it into separate parts, separate properties. Okay. So each property will have some functionality. Okay. Let's say this x1 and x2 will create some point here. Okay. So that is its property, and there is some other property with x1, x2 and x2 and y2. Okay. And there is some property which join these lines. Okay. And there is one more property that creates this image. Okay. So there are different properties in a single object. Okay. So those objects will be divided and each one is sent to a different functionality. Okay. So we just use this cookie to understand which object we are dealing with. Okay. So that's why we use serialization and deserialization. The object is divided into different parameters and each parameters has a different functionality. Okay. Once the work is done, so they are again brought back together and they are deserialized. Okay. And then becomes an object again, that complicated object which we have created here. Okay. And both the serialization and deserialization happens on the server side most of the time. Objects are difficult to understand or even difficult to transfer or read by systems. Okay. Because these objects have any number of properties, it has to be divided into many parts, also known as serialization. Okay. So that it is easy to transfer, easy to read by different processes and different programs. Okay. So most of the time serialization and deserialization happens in the server. We as end user only use serialized objects, in this case cookie. But the point is, when we edited this serialized object, we were able to manipulate the image. Okay. So this is user controllable, right? So the cookie becomes user controllable because we can control the cookie. So this becomes a huge vulnerability if the server unserialized our input. Okay, so let's try to see the source code and see what happens. This is the source code. Sorry, this is ugly as hell. Cheers, Kali man. Okay, so this is the PHP code. Okay, this is seems to be a huge code. Okay, but the one we need to identify in this particular PHP code is this object. Okay, when there is a class, it is defining an object. Okay, so let's see if this object is being used somewhere. Okay, there is no other object like this, and it is not being used anywhere, which means this is for us. Okay, so we have to use it, somehow to get the solution. Okay, so that's why they gave us, they haven't used this logger anywhere in this PHP code. And the next thing is, so the class ends here, the object ends here. Okay, so the next thing is show image. Okay, we just showing image, so it has nothing to do. Draw image, it just draws the image. And draw from user data. Okay, so they will see x1 y1, and then they will allocate the colors. Okay, and here it also checks a drawing cookie. If the drawing cookie exists, then it is going to draw from our input. Okay, so in this case we already have a drawing cookie. And see this line carefully. Okay, so the cookie is being taken here, and it is being base64 decoded, and it is being unserialized. Okay, so our cookie is being directly unserialized. So this is the huge vulnerability. Okay, so whatever we keep here, it is being able to unserialize it, and it is going to execute directly. Okay, so what we can do is, we will use this class. Okay, we will use this particular object, and then we will create a serialized object and transfer it to the cookie, and then let the drawing cookie unserialize, and we try to get the solution. Okay, so this is the huge vulnerability. And do we have anything else here? Nothing else. So this is being checked again, this is being deserialized in the same way. Okay, right, so let's capture this class. Okay, so let's capture it from here. So we don't need a whole object actually, so we just need one magic function, which is construct. So we are constructing an object, so we just need till here. Okay, so we already know about onlinephp.io. let's use this. Okay, and looks like there is some extra indentation. Let's get rid of that indentation, and let's create a PHP code. PHP, and to create a serialized object here, so we don't need all of this. Okay, so we just need only one of them to just create a PHP code, and one of them to save the PHP code, okay, in a PHP file. So what we will do is, we will just remove some of these things. Okay, so let's remove this one, and since we removed init, so we'll just also remove this one. Let's end this function. Okay, and let's also end this class. So we have successfully created an object class. So we have to create an object and serialize it, and then encode it, and then send it to the server. So the next step is to create a variable, let's say hack. Okay, so we are saying it new logger, because this is the function, right? So this is the object, so we are calling this object here. Okay, simple and easy. And what we will do is, we will serialize it. Okay, so simple echo, and first we will call this hack variable, okay, and semicolon, okay. So try to follow this and serialize, okay. There is a special function called serialize. This will just serialize this object, and let's see how it is before we encode it, okay. And before we do that, we also need these values to be erased, okay. Okay, let's try to write a PHP code, okay, PHP, and what we can do is we can write some simple things like system commands, okay. We'll just try to come up with a system command, which is cat /etc/natas underscore web pass, okay, and natas 27, okay. And let's end this PHP code using this one, okay. I'll just zoom out a little bit. So this PHP script will cat the natas 27 password, okay. So we want to save this natas 27 password in some kind of a log file, okay. So here we will just give a PHP file, so this output will be written here, okay. So let's see, we need some directory that we can use, okay. So let's go to this code, okay. Do we have anything that we can actually use, okay. Because we have an image here, right? So this image is being stored somewhere on the server, so we can access it. So similar way, we need that particular directory to create a PHP file, okay. So in this case, this is the PNG file that is being given here, okay. So this is stored in image directory. So what we can directly give is image / we can take hmcyberacademy.php, okay. So we can create this PHP file. So let's run this and let's see what happens. Okay, it is saying exactly one expected, okay. So because we are giving something like this, it is expecting that file. So we can just remove this and just run this. So this has created an object with 6 letters, which is this one, okay. This has 6 letters, and those are 2 objects, and one is this one, which is a log file which is being created, okay. This one, log file, and the second one is exit message, which is this one. So 2 objects are being created, and this has 49 characters, which is this one, okay. So I think we are good to go. Let's encode this and let's see what happens, okay. And okay, what encode? Base64 encode, okay. So we need to keep this in brackets, right. So let's encode this. So this is our output. Let's copy this. So where do we need to use it? We need to use it in a cookie, and that too drawing cookie, okay. So let's go to drawing cookie, inspect element, application, replace this, enter, okay. So this is being replaced. Let's try to hit enter and see what happens. So let's close this, and here we see a fatal error, okay. So it is saying uncaught error, cannot use object type logger as array, which means it is reading that object, right? So it is able to deserialize our object, but it is not able to understand the types, okay. But the code is actually executed. So the proof is this directory, okay, this one. This is the proof. So let's copy this. Let's go here and let's / and image hmcyberacademy php and hit enter. And that's it. we have our password here. I don't know why it came 2 times, but anyway, so this will be our password. So I hope you understand it. Whenever you feel like you have a serialized object, try to create a serialized object for yourself. Okay, so in this particular CTF or in this particular war game, they have given us a class object to use. Okay, and we didn't use it completely, we just used only certain things. Okay, this comes from experience. Okay, so you can actually just copy paste the whole thing and it will do the same thing. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So I just wanted a smaller cookie, so I just removed the init message. I just removed that init message here and try to create only this part. Okay, and try to serialize and encode it. Okay, so it is quite easy, right? I hope you get it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.